Think of great footballing nations and you'd be forgiven for leaving Canada off your list. The Canucks play in one of the world's most disrespected federations, CONCACAF, and even there, they've long been underachievers, overshadowed by the growing power of the USA and the football-mad Mexicans. But during the last year, something has happened, and there are signs that the landscape of North American soccer is starting to change. Back in March 2021, the Canucks recorded their largest ever victory, an 11-0 defeat of the Cayman Islands, and in the intervening months they've played 20 games, losing just twice and winning 14, including a statement 2-0 triumph over arch-rivals USA in January 2022, putting them just one win away from their first World Cup since 1986, with 3 fixtures left in their qualification campaign. That run has lifted them to an all-time high FIFA ranking of 33rd, above the Ivory Coast, Egypt, Ghana and Norway, and a stratospheric rise from their position 8 years ago when they slumped to their lowest ever spot of 122nd in the world. So something has changed in Canadian football, but what? Are stars like Jonathan David and Alphonso Davies the reason for the upwards trend, or products of a different approach to development? And what can we expect from Le Rouge over the coming years? On today's EFD Explained, we're heading north to find out. It's tempting to lump Canada in with the USA and assume that attitudes towards football would mirror those of their neighbours to the south, with the country's elite athletic prospects choosing to focus on gridiron, basketball, baseball and of course ice hockey. But a quick look at the data shows the stupidity of that impression. According to the18.com, there are currently around 1 million Canadians registered to play football at every level, compared to just over 600,000 playing hockey at the most recent count. And as they point out, while the USA has 4 times as many recreational footballers, the difference in population size means that the game is over twice as popular north of the border, with just 1.2% of Americans playing regularly compared to roughly 2.6% of Canadians. That's partly down to the accessibility of the game, which requires less specialised equipment than hockey or American football, and it's now estimated to be the most popular boy sport in the nation and 3rd most popular girl sport. But if men's football is starting to take off in Canada, women's football is a huge part of the reason why. When the male Maple Leafs were languishing at 122nd in the world back in 2014, the women's team were among the sport's biggest hitters, sitting in 7th. The next year, they went on to reach the quarters of the 2015 World Cup, then earn a bronze medal at the 2016 Olympics, a warm-up for their triumphant gold-winning tournament at the 2020 Games. And it wasn't just on field that the sport's growing status has become clear. 4.4 million people watched the final victory over Sweden, the most Canadians to watch any event of that summer's games, and over 11% of the country's total population. And the man behind that signature achievement is now in charge of the men's team. John Herdman, previously a coach in Sunderland's academy, ended a 16-year absence from the World Cup for New Zealand's women's team in the first top managerial role before taking his talents to North America and the Canadian women, leaving that position for the men in 2018, a position which doesn't just entail managing the senior 11, but setting the tone for the entire structure in his capacity as national director, with responsibility stretching as far down as the under-14s. And while the audience and the Canadian Soccer Association were evolving, something special was happening among the players too. If you want to be a serious footballing nation, you have to have a serious footballing structure. Belgium, Germany and now England have turned themselves into talent production powerhouses through investing heavily in academies, improving their sports science facilities and focusing on producing well-rounded, mature and technically skilled footballers. A major departure from the old days when reserve football was often a tactically empty slog on substandard pitches with the emphasis on winning at all costs instead of development. Canada may not be in that elite bracket yet, but the foundations are steadily growing. In addition to the army of youngsters taking up the game for fun, the country's elite clubs are committing greater resources to talent identification and cultivation. Of the 3 Canadian teams currently playing in the MLS, Toronto FC and Vancouver Whitecaps now field sides in the MLS Next Pro, an offshoot of North America's premier soccer division intended to give youngsters experience of real competition and prepare them for careers in senior football. Those youngsters have changed too. There are more of them from a wider range of background than ever before. National team manager Herdman, himself an immigrant to Canada from the UK, has noted the importance of diversity to the makeup of the squad, with many team members born outside of the country, such as Ike Ugbo, a born Londoner who came through Chelsea's academy, or Kanigia Elva, an import from St Lucia who received his football education at Stuttgart. Eager to avoid costly losses like Owen Hargreaves' defection to England and Asmir Begovic's choice to represent Bosnia, Canada have gone on a charm offensive in an attempt to snare as much eligible talent as possible. In the words of Herdman, this is what we're starting to provoke across the world when these dual passport players are looking at where to pledge their international futures. All of this is important to our success. While many international managers are slow to move away from their trusted favourites, Herdman certainly can't be accused of being narrow-minded. Over the last 12 months, he's called up 64 different players for international duty, compared to 41 for England in the same period, and of those, 28 are 23 years old or under, meaning that if you have Canadian citizenship and an ounce of footballing talent, you'll be given a shot. And the early returns on this policy are exciting. Jonathan David was born in New York to Haitian parents, but moved to Canada at 6, eventually making the leap to Europe with Ghent at aged 18. That same year, he received his first international cap, and while his success at club level has been remarkable, fetching a Canadian record €30 million fee to move to Lille, then winning a historic title in his first season, he's been even better for Les Rouges, netting a staggering 20 goals in 27 appearances to date. That works out to 0.74 goals per appearance, better than Harry Kane's record for England, and puts him just 4 goals away from becoming his nation's top scorer at just 22 years old. Alphonso Davies, meanwhile, might be even more impressive. Born in a Ghanaian refugee camp to parents fleeing Liberia, he arrived at Canada at 5, scored his first professional goal at 15, and swapped continents again when he joined Bayern Munich at 18 years old, having amassed 81 senior appearances already. And in the 3 years since, he's established himself as one of the best fullbacks in the game, made the FIFA Pro World 11 and lifted 10 trophies including the Champions League to become the most decorated Canadian player in football history, all before his 22nd birthday. Both he and David were handed their national call-ups by Herdman, as was Tajon Buchanan, an electric winger at Club Brugge, who's racked up 19 caps in the space of 12 months. And supplementing these potentially game-changing stars is a cast of reliable veterans, many of whom are succeeding at club level if in less eye-catching ways. In 2021, Sarl Larin and Atiba Hutchinson won the Turkish Super League with Besiktas, Larin netting 19 league goals to finish second top scorer in the division, and Hutchinson, who won his first Canada cap back in 2003 when Davis was just 3, grabbing 8 assists. And in Scotland, Scott Arfield made 45 appearances as Rangers lost just 2 games in all competitions last year and ended a 10-year wait for a title with an unbeaten campaign. By blending youth and experience, born Canadians with immigrants, Herdman has crafted a team representative of its country, playing better football while reflecting the modern face of Canada. So what does the future hold? Despite the improvements, Canada are still a work in progress. Back in 2014-15, there were 6 Canucks playing in Europe's top 10 leagues, and now that number is 13, a big increase as a percentage, but hardly a full-scale invasion, though there are around 30 Canadians playing first-team football at all levels across the continent. The Canadian Premier League is also playing catch-up. Now in just its 4th season, the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic have restricted attendance to under 1,000 a game, while a total of only 8 sides in the division means the regular season consists of 28 matches, hardly enough to generate year-round investment from supporters. Still, things can change quickly. US football was regarded as a joke among the traditional football nations as recently as half a decade ago. But now America has 11 players valued at €10 million or more according to Transfermarkt, including stars at Chelsea, Juventus, Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig. Not to mention Jesse Marsch, an American managing a Premier League team appointed to replace one of the modern game's defining figures in the legendary Marcelo Bielsa. And Canadians could find the transition easier than their southern counterparts, with many of them able to speak both English and French, perhaps explaining the growing contingent in Belgium. A strong showing at the 2022 World Cup could give the country's fledgling love of football a shot in the arm, an effect sure to be emphasised by the 2026 World Cup, which Canada will host alongside Mexico and the USA. A long journey to the top remains, but it's an auspicious beginning for the Maple Leaves. So that was our look at how Canada is producing so much talent. Who is your favourite Canadian player on the continent right now? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and make sure you're subscribed to Eurofootball Daily. Let us know what kind of content you want us to produce next, and hopefully we'll see you next time.